You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB, the oldest gospel radio station in Washington, D.C., the first contemporary gospel outlet in the United States. Today is Friday, January 19, 2024. Our radio broadcast is also a podcast heard throughout the DMV at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're on YouTube each and every week. You can listen whenever you can and have time in one of your shows. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Lyndia Grant Show, Think on These Things. Welcome to today's show. My guests today are two brilliant professionals. First, Dr. Julianne Malvo, economist, author, and speaker. And we will also have attorney Dana Stebbins in the second half. She is now once a month regular on my show. She's an attorney who has been helping all of us listeners to understand what's really going on with the 45th president. Attorney Dana Stebbins is also my good friend. Now let's go to Dr. Julianne Malvo. Dr. Julianne, let's talk politics. I'm not going to say a lot about you because everybody knows you're a speaker extraordinaire and an author, and you are a PhD in economics. So tell us what's going on in politics. I want you to have all of your time.
Absolutely, Lyndia. Greetings to you. And let's start outside of politics and economics because it does connect with the storm that hit D.C. Monday and Tuesday. With 9,100 flights delayed or canceled, with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg being called to find out how passengers are being treated, Southwest Airlines, not my favorite one, just saying, I was supposed to get to Chicago for Reverend Jackson's MLK breakfast, couldn't get there because flights were canceled. And then they said, well, you can fly out, but you might not be able to come back. I'm like, that's all right. I'll just stay here in D.C. Why is that relevant to politics and economics? Because in Iowa, they had minus 38-degree weather. Minus 38-degree weather. But people still came out. 110,000 people came out. Now, that's a small fraction of the number of people who are eligible to vote in Iowa, and it was fewer than voted in 2020 as well as 2016. However, guess what happened? The orange man ran away with it. He had 51% of the vote. Ron DeSantis was number 2, but he only had about 21% of the votes, and Nikki Haley had like 19-point-something% of the votes. People were expecting Haley to have done better, but frankly, DeSantis went to every one of the 99 Iowa counties, and he expected a great return until the week before he was selling wolf tickets. I'm going to win this, I'm going to win this, I'm going to win this. Well, he didn't. So the relevant Republican battle is between DeSantis and Haley, and, of course, the orange man takes it away. This has been fascinating to watch, and I'm sure everybody is fascinated by it. I'm sick of this. We're all sick of it, but we got like 8 more months to go. But just the pettiness, the lying, and Nikki Haley cracks me up. She has a website called RonDeSantisLive.com. And I think in her debate with him, she mentioned it probably at least 16 times, DeSantisLive.com. But neither here nor there. What's here and there is that she has now said she will not participate in any other debates unless the orange man is on the stage. She says she and DeSantis going back and forth doesn't make any sense. At the same time, what she's also, so an ABC debate that was scheduled for this week has now been canceled, and there's another debate that's scheduled for next week that unless the orange man decides to participate, will likely be canceled as well. But now she, in the wake of Iowa, where she disappointed some of her followers by coming in third, she participated in Q&A where she said America is not a racist country. She's experienced racism, but it's not a racist country. How then does she account for enslavement? That is for her to tell our listeners and our friends. But basically, it seems to me that she's in denial, that she's juggling a number of realities or unrealities, and people are still looking at her as a possibility. Meanwhile, I have to, I have such mixed feelings about Liz Cheney. But she did go to Ebenezer Baptist Church on Dr. King's birthday, and she said she'd rather vote Democrat than vote for the orange man. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a woman who was raised in Republican culture, but she says that our democracy is in danger if that man is president again. We all agree with her, but I don't understand why so many Republicans have drank the Kool-Aid. But not only did they drink it, then they snorted it, then they ingested it, because they simply have not, they just really have blindfolds on about this man. Meanwhile, we're looking at the possibility on this Friday, January 19th, today, possibility of a government shutdown. Now, we record on Tuesday, so we don't know what will happen. But here's what seems to be happening. Number one, there is a move to push the deadline from January 19th into March, giving them more time to negotiate. So we should have had a budget by the end of the year. Now we're going into March. Number two, the shutdown could happen. And if it does happen, it means that a number of programs that are very important to especially children, women, the elderly, those programs may well be at least temporarily eliminated. Number three, something else we know. We know that Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, and Ron Wyden, the Senate Finance Chair, have worked out a tentative agreement to maintain the child tax credit. The child tax credit is important because 16 million children will be lifted out of poverty if the expanded child tax credit goes through. However, what Democrats have had to concede will be more tax cuts for businesses. Now, we want the child tax credit extended, but businesses always end up getting over. This is a symptom of predatory capitalism. It's wrong. We know that it's wrong. But Democrats have chosen, now I somewhat agree with them, to pick children and basically take the hit on taxation. Mm-hmm. However, Republicans keep saying, we have so much debt, we're in so much debt. So why would they cut business taxes? So we'll have to watch this very carefully, Lyndia, and we'll be watching it, weeks ahead. The other thing that Republicans are demanding are some action on immigration issues, and this has been a rough week around immigration issues. First of all, we always have the rhetoric of Orange Man that basically talks anti-immigrant, immigrants are poisoning our blood, et cetera, et cetera. That rhetoric needs to stop. But it's not gonna. But in any case, we have that. But now we have families who drowned trying to get into the United States. And, of course, this really incites folks who feel that we should have better immigration policies. Look, I came to Washington first as an intern working for President Jimmy Carter. So this was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And the immigration policy issue was on the table then, 1986, and tried to do some things. They have not moved since 1986. We have not done immigration policy. Why? Because Republicans want to frame it as Democrats are letting all these, quote, illegal voters in, which is not the case. In any case, the immigration, so on one hand, what Republicans are demanding is some concessions on immigration in order to close the budget. And this is a problem because, obviously, Democrats are not inclined to give but so many concessions on this issue. So we have to look ahead and see what's going to happen. This is an interesting week. I suspect that they'll push it back. Mike Johnson does not want to be the one to cause a government shutdown, and he does not want to go the fate of Kevin McCarthy, but he may well. Meanwhile, in terms of international news, are we hitting on World War III? I'm just wondering, because Middle Eastern tensions are getting hot and high.
I've been hearing that.
the Houthis, who are Middle Eastern, they are talking about disrupting shipping. The United States has bombed on them. Hezbollah is saying they might join Hamas. This is a horrible situation. Russia is sitting with Congress not choosing to support either Israel or Ukraine. Is sitting there like, a dog looking at a mutton chop, saying, how am I going to benefit from this chaos? And with Putin being who Putin is, they will benefit from the chaos. So I am frightened, and I think many of us are, but at the same time, frightened. There is a gospel song, Battered But Not Broken. Mm-hmm. And we are not broken about this. We know that things will work out, but we who are, silence is complicity. Let me repeat that. Silence is complicity. There's so many flaws in our structure that too many people are afraid to call out. And I'm calling on people to call it out, especially around the international situation, but also around what's happening with this presidential race. Are we really willing to let the orange man be the next president of the United States? I mean, really, are we really willing to do that? Or are we prepared to say something? Liz Cheney, I said, I don't like anything she stands for except for her integrity. And in her integrity, she said, I'll vote for a Democrat rather than to vote for somebody who would fracture our Constitution. We need to pay attention to that. Finally, you tell me when I need to stop.
It's got to be quick.
Finally, let's just prayers up for Lloyd Austin, who's been released from the hospital.
Yes.
We look forward to hearing more from him in the next weeks about his recovery. He is a giant in our community, and we appreciate him. That's it for me.
All right, that does it, Dr. Julian. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
And we are back from our commercial break. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. Now we're going to talk to our second guest. give you just a short bio on Dana Brewington Stebbins, MSW Esquire, President and CEO of the Cornelius Group. I can't talk to her about very much because I like to give her the time. And sometimes we tend to run over because I took too much of the time. So I just want you all to know that Dana is a professional in every sense of the word who has worked for Congress and the Senate and has done all types of things with the D.C. government and the council and the mayor. And I know because I was there. So I don't want to go into it. But she's also an accomplished lawyer. She has her own law firm. And I will, in another week, I will go back into her background. She is attorney Dana Stebbins, and we're going to continue talking about the state of democracy in America. She is asking, should we be saved or recreated? She wants to address how deep the challenges to our democratic way of life runs. In that light, here are two questions I'd like her to answer for us. Number one, Attorney Stebbins, how deep is the damage to our democracy? And what observations have you made to reach your conclusions?
Well, thank you for having me back again, first of all, Lyndia. I enjoy talking about this, though I don't enjoy the topic because it's very stressful to think about the fact that after all these years and all the time we spent to build this democracy, it might be teetering on the brink of collapse. But that's where we are. So what I want to say is that because we're not in the rooms with the alt-right and the ultra-conservatives and the Republicans who have plotted this for years and years, I don't think we saw this coming until recently. Mm-hmm. What they have done is create chaos in society, not just in government, but in society, with people doubting our institutions, attacking affirmative action, going after democratic policies and successes that have been made. And I believe that the reason that this all came to a head with the election of 45 was that our democratic policies in the past had led to people of color gaining entrance to institutions where they had never been before, and in leadership positions and roles where they had never been before, and causing some in the non-African American and non-brown community to feel as if we were threatening their status. And so what they did was they started attacking affirmative action because that led to all kinds of people of color getting into the very institutions where they went, the Harvards, the Yales, all of those Ivy League institutions now, because of affirmative action, have people of color going through them. And so it's no longer exclusive to them anymore. And also what it resulted in was people of color leading the institutions. And if you remember recently in the last 3 weeks, the president of Harvard University, who was an African-American woman who had only been there for 4 months, was forced to resign because she did not respond to a set-up series of questions in a congressional hearing against her. But she's just one of many who have been attacked. So when you see people going after our leaders and going after our institutions, there's a reason behind that, and I think we have to pay attention. I think we have to realize that if they can destroy the court system, if they can destroy the Justice Department, if they can destroy all of the gains that we've made through democratic policies, then what's left for them to destroy is democracy, what made all of that happen in the first place.
Exactly. Please tell us more, because I don't know. I mean, know.
I've been trying to keep track of everything that's going on, but it's so much now. It's all around us. It's people doubting the law, the legal system, that it's fixed. It's somehow not. You can't trust it. You can't trust juries. You can't trust judges. Under attack. Juries are under attack. People who stand up for justice are being attacked because they're standing in the way of them getting this country back to where it used to be. When he says make America great again, he means for the small few people that he's talking about, not for all of us.
And let me say this, and then I'm going to go to the second and last question before we run out of time. I was I guess I shouldn't have been shocked at what happened with this caucus, with him getting over 50%. So anyway, just include that in your next answer. My next question is, what do you foresee if we are not able to repair or rebuild America? All these people voting for this man, and he got 90-some charges. It's remarkable. Help me with that.
It's remarkable.
Help us.
It's remarkable.
Yes.
Because if you can get people to think that the system that has indicted him and is prosecuting him is corrupt and biased and going against him as a person, as opposed to he broke the law, which he did, and needs to stand up for the crimes he committed, which he does. So the whole thing has been turned on its head, and some of those people in Iowa came out of there saying that the only choice they had was to support him, because if the system takes him down, who's next? Like, he's an innocent person that's just being persecuted. It's amazing that this country has come to that point, but that's where we are. So what I foresee is we may need to rebuild our democracy in a different way. We have young people now between the ages of 17 and 23 who in the latest polls are indicating they're not going to vote in the election. They have all kinds of reasons, but most of it is apathy. The rest of it is that they don't like the policies that are in place. But the main thing is that they don't believe it makes a difference, that voting doesn't change anything, that look at where we are, even though we elected Barack Obama and we elected Joseph Biden, look where this country is. So why should I go out and vote? That is so concerning. It's such a sense of fear and apathy. And then the other thing is the old thing about, if you don't believe in standing up for other people when they're under attack, who's going to stand up for you when you're attacked? If we feel that whatever's happening to all the other people doesn't have anything to do with us, then eventually it'll be us that they come after.
Can I add this, and you tell me if you think I'm off track? I think racism in America has a lot to do with this, because Make America Great Again goes back to Gone with the Wind and all the things that went on. And these people trust Donald Trump because it's all about what white people can do. And let's keep all the foreigners out. Let's keep the black folks down. We're supposed to be the ones in charge here. We are number one. And so I'm going to make sure that happens, because there's so many whites out in the farmlands and in Iowa and all out across the country. They want that. And am I wrong or am I right?
No, our country has changed dramatically. Minority people are now almost in the majority in every place that you look.
And they're scared. They're afraid.
Okay, and they're afraid. They're afraid of losing their superiority, their positions in life, their jobs. They're afraid. And everything that the democratic process has done to level the playing field for us makes them more scared every time something like that happens. They are very afraid. And so they believe that, and it's not just Trump, it's half the people in the conservative wing of the Republican Party and those who were in Iowa who believe this, that feel they have to fight for their rights and that you can't coexist with us. In other words, their right to be superior doesn't go along with our right to be equal. So they're choosing their right to be superior over our right to be equal. And so if we don't find a way to convince people to fight for democracy, to go to the polls, to stand up for injustice, to write letters to the editor, to question things that happen, to get on the radio, to do an op-ed piece, to do a podcast, to do whatever you can to highlight the dangerous situation that we're in. We're almost in a country that's leaning towards where China is, where Russia is. We're leading to a position where only certain people will be in power. And we really have to fix that. I don't have all the answers. What I want your listeners to do is to think seriously about what can I do in my own little circle to educate people about what's going on, the need to vote, the need to defend people who are standing up for democracy. Think about that, and then maybe one week when we come back, if we get enough responses, Lyndia, we'll be able to pull them all together and give people answers as to where they can go. But democracy is not going to survive under the attack that it is now under. It's just not.
All right. Well, thank you, Dana. That does it for this week. We've been going over about 3 or 4 minutes and maybe speeding up my show. So let us quit right here. We can stop because you'll be back next month, and I'm so looking forward to it. And I'm just going to go to this close. Well, folks, that does it for our show this week. Give us a call at 240-602-6295. I thank you for tuning in to today's show. Next week, we'll have another exciting guest for you. We hope this show with Attorney Dana Stebbins and Dr. Julianne Malvo has been helpful to you. Earl Nightingale once said, "Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out, because we do become what we think about." And Scripture says it this way: "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." That's exactly what we've been talking about. And Dana is here to give you some knowledge. So think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. I'm Dr. Gwendolyn Taylor, music coordinator at the All Nations Baptist Church, where the pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman, located right here in Washington, D.C. at number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. It is my pleasure to invite you all out to our Family, Friends, and Community Day. The service will be held on Sunday, January 21st, 2024, beginning at 10 a.m. There will be good singing, liturgical dancers. We will have an exciting panel discussions on topics relating to families, friends, and the community. Then we will have our worship service. Bring your entire family. Invite your co-workers or neighbors. It's Family, Friends, and Community Day. We will see you on January 21st at 10 a.m. All Nations Baptist Church, number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. Call at 202-832-9591. We'll see you there.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.